I feel like most of us are going to share the same number 1, but you never know. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm talking about my top 10 favorite MCU villains. Now, last week I did my top 10 favorite MCU heroes. I'll link that video up above. So I figured I'd do a follow-up and talk about all the villains in the MCU that I think are the best. There's like 20 plus. I know there's at least 23, one for each movie, some repeat. So coming in at number 10 for me is going to be Red Skull. Now, this is the villain from Captain America, the First Avenger. He actually appears later in Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. I think that for what he does, he's effective enough in that first Captain America movie. He wants to use the Space Stone to essentially take over the world. Captain America has to stop him. He's got a few memorable lines, and I like the fight between him and Captain America, so that's why he comes in at number 10. He's by no means the strongest villain in the MCU when it comes to like a writing perspective or even powers, but he's a menacing enough threat for Cap, and I think that he makes for some memorable enough moments. Coming in at number 9 for me is going to be Alexander Pierce, the villain from Captain America, the Winter Soldier. Now, I know what you're thinking, isn't the Winter Soldier the villain of the Winter Soldier? To me, Alexander Pierce has always been the mastermind behind everything, like the inner workings of it kind of invading S.H.I.E.L.D., and I just think Robert Redford does such a great job of playing this menacing kind of corporate figure. The scene that cements him on this list is when Bucky is inside his house. The housekeeper walks back in and he says,
I wish you would have knocked.
And like kills her, shoots her dead. Coming in at number 8 for me is going to be Obadiah Stane, played brilliantly by Jeff Bridges in the first Iron Man movie, of course. He just has his own plan to kind of turn on Tony Stark. This quote right here could have pretty much put him at number 1.
Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a box of scraps.
Jeff Bridges brings this energy to him, and he's a great threat for Tony Stark. I think the final fight isn't underwhelming like a lot of people say. I think it's pretty solid. It's also just the first MCU movie, so they weren't like pushing the boundaries when it comes to like action yet. I think the first Iron Man focuses more on character-driven moments. However, I think Obadiah Stane is really solid. Coming in at number 7 for me is going to be the Goddess of Death, Hela from Thor Ragnarok, Thor's sister. She is very scary, I will say that. Her design is very unique and creepy, and I think Cate Blanchett just plays her perfectly, especially the scene where she's killing like a ton of the people in Asgard. She's just slaughtering them by like going like that with their hands and making stuff come out of the ground. She annihilates the Warriors 3 like it's nothing. She destroys Mjolnir in like the first 15-20 minutes of the movie. Come on. Simply put, she's just badass, so she had to make the list. Coming in at number 6 for me is going to be Killmonger from Black Panther. Michael B. Jordan needs more roles, in my opinion. Like, he kills it as Creed. He's really great in this movie. As you sympathize with him, you feel like he's almost the hero of the movie. He has the right to the throne, seeing what happens with his parents. It's truly tragic, so you can understand exactly where he's coming from. So I do think that they wrote this villain very well. And the fact that the villain you can almost root for as much as Black Panther, the hero, says something about the quality of the villain. But before I give you guys my top 5, definitely hit the like button and comment down below your favorite MCU villains. I feel like this next one might be a hot take, but we'll have to see how the comment section reacts. So coming in at number 5 for me is going to be Mysterio from Spider-Man Far From Home, played by Jake Gyllenhaal. And the reason that this is so high on the list is because Jake Gyllenhaal is having so much fun in the role. You can just tell. Like, I love the scene where he gets the glasses from Peter, and then he's like,
see, that wasn't so hard.
And he just goes crazy and he gives this like monologue explaining his backstory. At first, it kind of got a little exposition heavy, but a lot of people complained about that scene. But it works for me. If you're gonna have like the first half of this movie involve simulations, then you have to explain it. And that scene works well to me. And yes, I know that he's more of Tony Stark's villain and not Peter Parker's villain, but I still enjoy him so much. I would love to see a Peter Parker villain, a villain that hates Peter Parker, because it is a Spider-Man movie. I understand that. The dream sequence, I'm gonna call it, where Mysterio's like messing with Spider-Man's head, is so beautiful to look at on screen, and there's a lot of twists and turns with Mysterio. Is he dead? Is he alive? We really don't know, but I love the final fight that him and Peter have, where Peter just uses his Spidey sense and destroys all the drones. It's a very great moment in that movie. He also wins because he reveals Peter's identity to the world at the end of the movie. I just hope we see more of him. Coming in at number 4 for me is gonna be Zemo from Captain America Civil War. Now, this is probably a hot take, but he's in my top 4. I mean, this guy wins. His plan is to tear apart the Avengers from the inside, and he gets that ultimately as Iron Man, Cap, and Bucky go at it and try and kill each other, and he gets the whole airport battle to happen. Now, he's not some mastermind, menacing threat like Thanos, and I'm excited to see more of him in the Falcon and Winter Soldier. He's always kind of plotting, and you can just see that in him. I love the moment at the very end when he's talking to Barton Freeman's character, and then he's like, how does it feel to do all that and fail? And then he's like, did it? Did it? I mean, come on, this guy is being set up to have a strong presence moving forward in the MCU. I know a lot of people say that it shouldn't have been in the movie. I think he was crucial to Civil War because he was the force that cut in half the Avengers, that tore them apart. So I gotta give props to that guy. I mean, he succeeded. He won. Coming in at number 3 for me is going to be Loki, the god of mischief. Now, this character's character arc has gone all over the place. He's kind of been a hero at times in Ragnarok and at the beginning of Infinity War in a sense, but he's still a villain at heart to me. He's the main villain of the first big Avengers movie, so I gotta put him there. He's the villain of Thor, basically. Tom Hiddleston has this way of playing him where you just want to kind of like lock him up. I kind of want to lock Loki up because he keeps getting away with things and keeps tricking people, especially in the end of Dark World when he's acting like he's actually Odin. There's just so many moments where you want to like grab Loki and be like, stop, just stop what you're doing, please. I feel like Loki will make most people's top 5. Let me know down below, but I just had to put him here. He's such a classic villain. Coming in at number 2 for me would be my number 1 if my number 1 didn't exist. And my number 2 is Vulture from Spider-Man Homecoming. Talk about a villain that isn't really a villain. He's just trying to make ends meet for his family. Almost like, you know, a lot of people compare him to Walter White from Breaking Bad. I kind of see that comparison, but I really do think that Vulture is just a family man trying to make ends meet. He kind of got screwed by the big guy Tony Stark. As you see in the opening of the movie, they set this guy up to like him. He's just doing his job, cleaning up the wreckage of the Battle of New York, and then these people come in and try and take away his job from him. So he has to make money somehow, so he starts, you know, getting into this arms dealing, if you will, making other weapons, and then he gets the Vulture suit, and then Spider-Man sticks his nose in his business, so he has to do what he has to do. But the scene that really, like, sets up this character to be one of my favorites, there's a knock on the door. Peter Parker's going to pick up his date for Homecoming, and Michael Keaton opens the door, and you're like, I gasped and looked at Cam. I was like, no way, no way. It's one of the best twists in the MCU. When you find out that Vulture is Liz's, aka Peter Parker's Homecoming date's dad, it just adds this whole nother element of suspense to the movie. You can see it in Peter's eyes. And when Peter is getting driven to Homecoming by Michael Keaton's Vulture, and he says, go ahead, Liz, I'm gonna give Pete the old dad talk. I say that almost in every video I get to. It just scares the crap out of me. Like, I'd be terrified if Michael Keaton was in the front seat and I was like... That scene terrifies me, but I can only imagine how Peter felt. It just makes Vulture a very humanized villain, but at the same time, he's a perfect threat for Peter Parker in this first movie, and he's one of the better Spider-Man villains overall, maybe my favorite, but he could not top the number 1 villain in the MCU, which is Thanos. He's got multiple movies to really have his time on screen, but also he's been teased from the Avengers post-credit scene to the Age of Ultron post-credit scene when he says, fine, I'll do it myself. When you finally get to see him in full in Avengers Infinity War, and he kills Loki in the first few minutes. He kills Heimdall, and he has 2 of the Infinity Stones. You know it's going down. It's over. His plan, while it is insane to wipe away half of the population, they for some reason make you kind of feel for him and understand where he's coming from. On top of that, he's just the most menacing threat. Like, I'd be terrified to face Thanos. He's the scariest villain in the MCU. He's the most powerful, in my opinion, in the MCU, and he wins in Avengers Infinity War. He wipes away half of the human population, kills half the Avengers, they're gone, and then he wins. He's just sitting at peace. He just played such a critical role in the Infinity Saga of the MCU. He's without a doubt the best, in my opinion. I feel like most people would agree. Who's your favorite villain, though? Let me know down below. So that's going to do it for my top 10 favorite MCU villains. Definitely hit the like button. Like I said earlier, comment down below your favorite MCU villains. I'm interested to hear your picks. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. It would mean the world. Got a lot of MCU content planned, movie content in general. WandaVision is in full steam, so I keep doing these MCU videos. But thank you all for watching. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.